Lawmakers are calling for big changes after a false active shooter scare shut down much of Honolulu Airport's operations yesterday. Gina Mangieri is always investigating. Gina?
Well, the backlash is much like what followed the false nuclear ballistic missile alert scare last year, with lawmakers calling for hearings, an overhaul of crisis response, and more speed and accountability when things go wrong. Visitors and locals alike endured a marathon wait at Daniel K. Inouye International Airport Tuesday. An overheating battery charger in a laptop bag led TSA to clear a mainland terminal TSA checkpoint. Stanchions fell over, creating a pop, pop, pop sound mistaken for gunshots.
I don't know where it came from, but there was multiple TSA agents yelling, active shooter, run, run, run. Run, take off. We were running, literally 50 people were running through the TSA gate, trampling each other, trying to get through, and then just separating off to different areas.
Passengers scattered to both sides of the checkpoint, causing the secure side of the airport and even boarded flights to be evacuated, with many waiting in the hot sun. It took almost 4 hours before Terminal 2 checkpoints reopened. The Department of Transportation said they put on Twitter within 20 minutes that it was a false alarm. Many passengers say they did not hear officially one way or the other for quite some time.
It's one thing to startle people and scare people. It's another to calm them down if it in fact is a false alarm. So even that part is part of the entire game plan as to how does the state respond to disasters.
Among the travelers impacted by the aftermath, Senator Donna Kim, who had to catch a flight to Miami.
Almost 4 hours later, there was not one airport official, state official that I saw the whole time I was there waiting in line. Nobody was coordinating the lines. Nobody was telling us what to do.
What will you do as a lawmaker?
Well, I already called the chair of Senate Transportation Committee, and I told her we should have a hearing on Lorraine, and she agreed, and we should find out what went wrong.
She even called the director of transportation while waiting in line.
I called Jay Butai. He wasn't at the airport. He didn't know what was, going on. So I told him, I said, you guys got to do something. What's going on? There needs to be some coordination.
Coordination between the federal TSA, state sheriffs assigned to the airport patrol, the private security contractor, and DOT personnel.
No, I mean, this is not rocket science. These are just entities that are tasked with public safety that have to come up with a clear plan. So if there's an active shooter, if there's a natural disaster, if there's a man-made disaster, that they have a plan. The fact that we don't have a plan and we're a state agency, this is one of the few areas where this is a core government service. We have to keep the public safe. We should have a plan.
What could have made a difference yesterday?
I think that for the third year in a row, we have failed as a legislative body to pass an airports corporation or airport authority. For us having some type of protocol to make sure that if in fact, heaven forbid, an incident like this were to be real in the future, that we would have some type of state procedure versus just being chickens without their heads running around trying to figure stuff out on the fly.
Now, late this afternoon, the State Transportation Department put out a statement saying they did tee up an emergency operations center during yesterday's incident. They say an after-action review will see if any changes to the airport's security plan is necessary. I asked the TSA, the Department of Transportation, and the Sheriff's Department, do they have a plan and do they practice together how to deal with false alarms? And for that matter, active shooters, had this been a real threat? We will continue to follow up. Back to the desk.